Hey class, these are your notes for section 10.2. This is all about circles. So the first thing I'm going to do is remind you, we looked at this briefly before we took the ACT. What is the equation for, or the formula for, a circle? Okay? The formula's template looks like this. X minus something squared plus y minus something squared equals, there's a reason why I'm changing colors, the radius squared. Need you to remember that the radius is on the right hand side. What goes behind the x and y are the same variables we used when we had the transformation sections throughout this year. We move somewhere from 0 to get our x coordinate, which is we call h. We move somewhere from 0 to get our y coordinate, which we call y, or k. So this is the center of the circle. Let's go ahead and just do a couple of these real quick and see if you can tell me. So for number 1, if I give you x minus 3 quantity squared plus y plus 2 quantity squared equals 64, what can you tell me about the circle? Well, we can tell, and I'll change back to blue, that it has a center. Remember, the formula has a minus sign in it, so you have to think opposite of positive 3. Since we're adding 2, we go down 2. And change to red for this one. The radius is 8, because 8 squared is 64. So that's how you do from the formula to the equation. Let's do one more of those. If I give you, let's do a unique looking one here. Let's do x squared plus y plus 7 squared equals 12. Now, the first thing we realize is we didn't move x at all. We have no h, okay? There is no h. So that means the center is located at x equals 0. The y coordinate of the center is taking this number and putting in the opposite. So we went down 7 from 0. The next thing we realize is 12 is not a perfect square. So my radius is the square root of 12. If you want to use simplest radical form, depends on how they ask you to put it in. It's going to be somewhere between 3 and 4, since 3 squared is 9 and 4 squared is 16. But if we use simplest radical form, remember it's 4 times 3, so 2 square root of 3 would be the answer. Somewhere between 3 and 4 if you type that in on your calculator. Okay, let's jump to an example. Example 2 is going to ask us to write the equation of the circle. So we're given the radius here. Change my color back to red for radius of 1. And we're given a center located at h of 0 and k of 6. So we're going to take our template. Remember, the template is x minus something squared plus y minus something squared equals the radius squared. And we're going to fill in what the given is. Since my new center is at 0, 6, I fill those in there. Since my radius is 1, I'm just going to go ahead and write 1 squared. But my final answer, since this is a 0 over here, is simply x squared plus y minus 6 quantity squared equals 1. And that would be the equation of the circle that's centered at 0, 6 with a radius of 1. Okay, example 1b is just another equation. This time, we're given the center. So on my template, I can fill that in pretty quickly. The problem with this one is, what we're given is something called containing the point. So let me just put this on a coordinate plane real quick. If I were to graph this, and I put negative 4, 11, that's going to be somewhere up in here. And I put a point that is 5, negative 1, that would be down here. What happens that you need to realize is, and I'm going to go off the page a little bit, this is the radius. This is the center right here, the red one. This is the radius of the circle. So if I were to try to draw this, it would be something like this, around like this. And I know I'm probably going off the page a little bit. Okay? So you just have to recognize what you're given. We're given a center at 4, negative 411. You rewrite that here, negative 411. And we're given a radius, or a point containing the outside of 5, negative 1. So we're going to use the distance formula to find the radius. That's step 1. And then when we go to fill in that part of the equation here in our template, we will be able to see and finish the equation. Okay, so let's go ahead and find that radius. Remember in class, I showed you guys how to create a right triangle real quick. We're going to subtract our x's. So how far did I go from all the way over here at 5, all the way over here to negative 4? Well, I went 9 spaces. So I need to put 9 on the bottom. How far do I go from negative 1 up to 11? If I start at negative 1 and go up to 11, you can do that on your calculator. Negative 1 minus 11, I go a total of 12. Okay? So you can either count or type them in on your calculator. I don't care. For those of you that really like the distance formula, I'm just going to put it on here real quick. It's what I just did in my head was 5 minus a negative 4 squared and negative 1 minus 11. Okay? And what we're going to get is that 9 that I spoke of right here and the 12 that I spoke of there. They should both be positive. So my radius is equal to 9 squared plus 12 squared, all under the square root, and that's the radius. When I type that in on my calculator, I get a radius of 15 because I get 225 inside the square root. So my r is 15. So let's go back up to the original template. I'm going to erase this little line here. It's kind of in the way. And we're going to go ahead and put our information in there. So we have a center at negative 411. So I'm going to make that negative 4 and this 11. My radius we found out was 15, so I'm going to write 15 squared. My final answer is x plus 4 quantity squared plus y minus 11 quantity squared, all equal to 225, because you have to remember to square that 15. And that's the answer. Okay, that's the last example that I'm going to go over. What I want you to do now is I want you to try these two problems. The first one is given to you is a graph, okay? So obviously in order to write the equation of a circle, you need two things. You need the radius and you need the coordinates of the center. So see if you can use the graph, just counting blocks to find the coordinates of the center, put a dot on your graph, and then the actual radius, which you can just count blocks. You don't have to do the distance formula. When you get to number 2, I want you to write the equation of a circle that's centered at 3, negative 1. I went ahead and put it on a coordinate plane just to give you a visual. That contains the point 9, negative 9. So just to remind you, you're going to be writing a circle that's basically going to go around like this. So you need to find the radius using the distance formula. Okay? So once you get that distance formula radius, you can either use the distance formula like I said, or you can use your right triangle and do the Pythagorean theorem. I would add my coordinates onto my picture here. I've graphed them for you, but I would put the actual numbers on there. It's easier to see what to do next. And then you're going to fill in your template with the center right here that I gave you, calculated radius right there. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.